Hey everybody, Jake here, and
Pretty
I
good.
hope that you had a happy Halloween.
Nothing
It's the day
nothing
after
fun
that,
here.
so I am going to record some Dominion
Uh
commentary. If you look at this is, by the way, another one
okay.
of my league matches. This one is against the Pilferer, and if
Probably
you
my
got a
account
chance
and be
to
very
look at the
happy.
board just now, you will notice that we are not looking at any draw, any plus cards to increase hand size. We're also not looking at any plus buy. So really, what we're other than capital, and that's not really great sustainable plus buy. So really, what we're looking at is the ability to get off the ground with thinning and attacking the opponent really quickly and start getting provinces. I don't think you really go for double province here. We have both opened in such a way that will let us get a count. And the standard play when you're thinning with count is gain copper, trash your hand, just because that's the way that you get the most out of your deck control with count. And what did I go? Silver raise, it looks like. And it looks like we maybe both went silver raise here. And at this point, I'm probably thinking about a potion because the soothsayers, a soothsayer is good, and multiple tormentors are good. So I might be thinking about getting a potion to gain a bunch of those fibers, but you can skip potion here. Yeah, I think actually skipping potion here might be a bit of a better call. That's probably what I'm thinking about right now, is whether or not to skip the potion and skip the university. And if I remember correctly, I think I skipped the potion, but it might be being optimistic. I think you should skip the potion. I like a scheme for me. I hope I get a scheme, because then I can play my count more, and eventually play my soothsayer tormentors more. The suspense is killing me. It really is. What do I do? Wow, am I still thinking? What the hell was I up to? Wow, I'm still thinking about this. I'm sorry, Pilferer. I didn't mean to waste so much of your time. Okay. Okay. I got the scheme. Yes, I made what I think is the right call. It took me long enough, didn't it? He gets the potion, which again I don't actually love here. I think that you do a little better with just building your deck to hit 5 instead of getting the potion, because I don't think you're going to use the village too much. So as you can see here, it's probably a mix of me having gone first and my count not missing the shuffle. But as you can see here, I'm quite a bit thinner than he is. I've got control of my deck, and I've got the Soothsayer in it too, so I can start gaining those golds and drawing them, junking him in the meantime. It could have just been as well that he lined up his count with his opening buys, and he couldn't trash as many cards as I got to. So what is he going to do here? And what? He gets $3 and goes ahead and makes sure he hits that university. At this point, the defiled shrine points are worth considering at least. And I'm deciding whether or not I want to thin a copper. That's really the thing I want to figure out. And I decide to go ahead and thin the copper and get a raise. Now, getting the defiled shrine points instead of that raise would have been valid. I tend to just kind of forget that defiled shrine exists because, and he goes ahead and gets it there, because I don't like making my deck worse. But given how far ahead I was on deck control, those points might have been worth going for. And of course, if I did have the village, I would be able to play a Soothsayer and a Tormentor on him in the same turn. But oh, I've raised the count, by the way. But I do not. So, and you know, the village is then the university is then a card I have to draw. So I get a capital, and I decide that the spiking payload and the plus buy is going to be the most valuable thing for my deck. The other options would have been a Tormentor, but again, I can't play that and the Soothsayer, and I really want to play the Soothsayer at least a couple more times before I start provincing. Plus, the capital is pretty good in the deck once you do start provincing because it can effectively smooth a little bit in terms of helping you maybe get province plus something or make sure you get province and then you pay off the debt. So, or smoothing is the wrong word. It's not doing the opposite. It's spiking for you. So maybe I could even get to a double province turn with the capital. And at the very least, if we go back and forth on the duchy dance, the capital can function as a duchy that isn't in my deck yet. So go ahead and make my move here and start greening. These games like this with the poor deck control and effectively kind of single gain boards, they tend to reward speed over point ceiling and building. So I decided to just go ahead and go for it. Start provincing and aim to just not. And I've got Soothsayer to keep my money density up as I'm adding green cards to the deck. So hopefully my deck won't really be getting worse. It'll just be staying the same and I'll be scoring points. He gets a scheme. And I raise the raise to try to draw my Soothsayer. And I could thin a copper, which will help my money density, or I can make sure I hit province. And I decide to go ahead and make sure I hit province just to keep the pressure on. I don't know. You could have made an argument for either one, right? Like, if I had just played the... If I had just paid off debt, and then what would I have bought? Actually, I don't know. I like what I did. You can see me having a little bit of an epileptic fit over here with my cursor. And he goes ahead and raises his potion, which is one of the benefits of having the potion, or rather, one of the reasons that the potion doesn't hurt that much is because you are going to raise it eventually. Of course, in the process, he's down on deck control, and those universities aren't great cards for the deck either. They're gaining fibers, but I don't know, unless the only way that I could see that really mattering is if he then was able to use that to play a bunch of tormentors on me every turn and get 3 or 4 hexes off on me a turn. And if you do that to your opponent, a lot of the time they just can't do anything because if none of the hexes reliably do any single thing, but if you get enough of them out, they're going to do bad stuff to the opponent and slow them down. But he can't really do that because he doesn't have the draw to get those tormentors in his hand and then play them. So that's my hope, is that the tormentors are not going to be enough of an attack to slow down big money. Which is basically what I'm playing. He plays a scheme. I assume he's going to be... I don't know exactly what he's scheming. It looks like he might be scheming his university. Gains an oasis, which I really don't like because the big problem on this board is that there's no way to increase your hand size above 5 other than imps, which it's hard to get imps with Tormentor because you have to basically use your whole turn to do it. So I think the oases are doing more harm than good because they're also decreasing his hand size. He gets the duchy and a curse, so he's making up the points difference, but he's not fixing the big problem, which is that his deck just really isn't built to province yet. And I think that's going to be a bigger deal than, uh, you know, than whatever middling points he can score in the meantime. So I get 2 consecutive plays of the Soothsayer because I schemed it. And yeah, this game is, at this point, I'm going to say this game is all but sealed up. I would say that it would be a little bit more of a contest if the Tormentors were easier to get into play, because you have to get them into your hand and then play them. If he could play 2 or 3 of those on me a turn, maybe he could slow me enough to come back. But as it is, I think we can fast forward here a little bit. He gives me Plague for the last curse. He gets a few duchies. I don't love the duchies, but at the same time, I understand why he's getting them, because he's got to get points somehow, and at this point, even the last 2 provinces don't win him the game if he gets them, so it's only a matter of time before I draw my capital in enough hands that I'm going to win. Plus, my deck is full of gold, so as you can see here, it does go ahead and proceed with me getting the final province, and I hope you don't mind me fast-forwarding through some of the parts that I didn't necessarily think were that important. Do let me know if you would prefer I don't do that in the future, but just to move the video along. And again, thank you for watching, and best of luck to the Pilferer in the rest of his matches.